Today's lesson is 8.1, Perimeter and Area of Rectangles, Parallelograms, and Triangles. The perimeter of a polygon is the sum of the lengths of the sides. So all I have to do is find the length of each side and add it up to find the perimeter of any polygon. The area of a polygon is the number of square units contained in the interior or inside my polygon. The area congruence postulate says if two polygons are congruent, which means, of course, that they are equal, there's the symbol for congruent, then they have the same area. Let's go ahead and start with our rectangle. The area of a rectangle is the product of its base and its height. So you often see the formula as capital A for area equals B times H. There we go. Sometimes you see it as area equals L times W, L for length, which is the same as my base. You could think of them both as the same right here in our example 1. And of course, W would be the same as the height right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at example 1, and they're asking us to find the perimeter and the area of the rectangle below. Now, rectangles are the only polygon that has a perimeter formula. It's 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Okay, so remember, this is I would consider this the length, or I would consider it the base. It could be either one. And then I would consider this one the width for W, or H, the height, if I use base times height. Okay, it doesn't matter. I could actually switch these two and it's not going to matter because 2 times 10 and 2 times 6, they're going to be the same. Okay, so 2 times 10 is 20, 2 times 6 is 12, 20 plus 6 is 32, and my unit would be centimeters because I'm just adding up each one of the units, so nothing happens to my units. Let's go ahead and take a look at our area. Now I'm going to use the base times the height formula, but you could also think of it as length times width. It's the same thing. Either way, we're going to do 10 times 6, which gives me 60. We are also multiplying centimeter times centimeter, so my unit is going to be centimeters squared. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the area addition postulate. This says that the area of a region is the sum of the areas of all its non-overlapping parts. So they cannot be one on top of each other. That's what overlapping means. So in example 2, they ask us to find the area of this region. Now they want the area of the whole region. I'm going to grab my highlighter here and I'm going to highlight the whole region for you. So here's the whole region that I want you to find the area of. Now I'm going to tackle this by adding a line in here, and I'm going to put the line right here and right here. What I have done now is I have created 3 separate rectangles. There's a rectangle. Let me come in and use my highlighter to help you. There's one rectangle right here. There's a large rectangle right here. There we go. And there's one last rectangle. Let me go to my presets right here. There we go. These 3 rectangles are going to make up the area of the yellow one that I originally highlighted. So I'm going to go ahead, and each one of them is a base times height. So I'm going to start with the blue one. Now before I get started, I'm not really sure here. Okay, I'm not really sure. I just have the 2. So I'm going to have to do some work. what I know about rectangles, let's look at the purple one. I know that this side of the rectangle is the same as this side of the rectangle, so that's 2. And I know that this part of the rectangle is the same as this part of the rectangle, so this side is 3. If the whole thing is 8, that means this is 5, because 5 plus 3 is 8. All right. Well, I also know that if the bottom of the pink is 5, then the top of the pink is 5. If this is 2, this is 2. And so now I know the long pink side, it's 2 plus 3 plus 2, excuse me, which is 7. And the last thing I need, well, this one would match with this one. So if this part is 5, like this part, then this part must be 3, just like this part. Blue one is going to be 2 times 3, or 3 times 2. Either way, it's going to be 6. Next, I'm going to do the area. Oh, let's do the area of the purple one. That's going to be base times height as well. And this time I'll do 3 times 2, which is, of course, 6. They're both the same. And then the last area is my big pink one. And that one's going to be, 5 times 7, or 7 times 5, 35. To find the area of the yellow one, I'm just going to add up 6 plus 6 plus 35, and I get 47 units squared. All right, let's move on to the parallelogram. The area of a parallelogram is the product of its base and its height. So the formula for my area of my parallelogram is simply base times height, just like the rectangle. Now be very careful. In my parallelogram, the base is going to be right here. Now, the base doesn't necessarily mean that it's sitting on it. The base, you have to go based on where the height is. And the height has to have a 90-degree angle. That's because your base and your height have to be perpendicular to one another. That's the only rule about it. So that makes the blue one my base, and it makes both of the pink ones the height. Now you might be thinking, why are there 2 heights? Well, there's 2 heights just to simply show you that the height of a parallelogram could either be here inside of the parallelogram, or you could think of it here as outside the parallelogram. Notice that the base goes from vertex to vertex, and it does not include this extension. This extension is only here to help me find the height. Okay, so that this little part right here is actually not a piece of my parallelogram. Okay, so just be careful when you're going to do the perimeter and the area. All right, find the perimeter and the area of the parallelogram below. So for this parallelogram, I have to remember that when I'm doing the perimeter, that the opposite sides are equal. So 20, 20, 30, 30. So it's 20 plus 30 plus 20 plus 30, which is 100. And that two little tick marks is shorthand for inches. So it's my perimeter is 100 inches. To find my area, I'm simply going to do my base times my height. So let me go ahead and grab my colors. Remember, I'm looking for the my perpendicular, my 90 degrees. So here is my base, and here is my height. Most of the time, your height is going to be a dotted line. But just remember, it can be inside the parallelogram like it is here, or it could be outside. So 2 times 26, 520. Remember, we're multiplying inches times inches, so it's inches squared is going to be my unit for area. All right, our last one for today, the area of a triangle. The area of the triangle is 1/2 the product of a base and its corresponding height. Now, just like in the parallelogram, the base and the heights are going to be perpendicular. And if you're looking at example 4 down below, notice that the height is outside of the triangle, just like it could be outside of a parallelogram. So that can happen as well. You're just looking for this, they have to be perpendicular. So my base has to be perpendicular to my height. They have to create a 90 degrees. Okay, there we go. And I prefer the 1/2, but you could also think of the formula. You might have seen it as base times height divided by 2. You could also think of it that way as well. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to find my perimeter. No, I'm going to find my perimeter. To find my perimeter, I need my triangle. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight the 3 sides of my triangle. And I'm doing that just to make sure that I see all 3 sides and I don't have to solve for any of them. So my perimeter is simply going to be 7 plus 15 plus 21, which is 43. This one has no units, but I would just say units, whatever they were, inches, feet, centimeters. I'm going to use this formula for area. There we go. And I'm going to come in with my highlighters and I'm going to help myself find my base and my height. Here is my height. I need to be careful though. This is the base. This piece here is just being an extension to help me find my height. And so I do not need to use it in the formula for area. So my base is 7, my height is 10, and I'm going to do 1/2 times 7 times 10, or half of 70, 35, whatever my units are, squared, centimeters, feet, yards. All right, I have one last example for you, and that's this one right here. We need to find the perimeter and the area of this triangle. So just like in the last one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight all 3 sides of my triangle because I'm going to do my perimeter first. One thing that I notice as I go around, I'm missing a side. I'm missing that bottom side, which by chance is also my base. I'm missing the base, and there's my height. Okay, so I'm going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem. I'm going to have to go ahead and say a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and this is going to help me find my base. Notice that I have a 90-degree angle right here, which means I also have a 90-degree angle on the other side. This would be my C, my hypotenuse, and I'm going to call this one A, and I'm going to call this one B. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for A. Plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. All right, so 15 squared, I put that in my calculator and I got 225. And 17 squared, I put that in my calculator and I got 289. Remember, you want to take a look whenever you're doing the Pythagorean theorem. You want to pay attention to where the two numbers are. They are being separated by the equal sign, so that means we have to subtract the 225 from the 289. Which would give me 64. And the last step of the Pythagorean theorem is always to take the square root, and the square root of 64 is 8. So this side of my triangle is 8. Now I'm going to do the Pythagorean theorem again, but, well, I guess I could still use A, and then that's B, and this is C. And I'm going to solve for my second A. If that is confusing to you, go ahead and change the A and the B. That's perfectly fine. It was already labeled, so I went ahead and left it. I'm just doing it again with my new number. So 15 squared again was 225. 25 squared is 625. Once again, they are on opposite side of the equal sign, so I have to subtract. So I'm going to subtract my 225, which gives me a squared equals 400. I'm going to take the square root because that's always the last step of the Pythagorean theorem, and I get 20. So this side is 20. That means my base is 20 plus 8, 28. There we go. I'll put it in blue. All right, I can now go ahead and find my perimeter. My perimeter is going to be 17 plus 25, the two sides that were given, plus 28, the base that we found, which would give me 70, and it has the two little tick marks, so I'm going to use the unit inches. To find the area, I'm going to use this formula. And I'm going to say I already knew, well, I found my base, 28, and they already gave me the height of 15. 1/2 times 28 times 15 is 210 inches squared.